Think today and act tomorrow. Even a thoughtless act may cause a lifetime of regret. Good evening, everyone. Today, on behalf of Chamber of Tax Consultants, I, CA Ashita Shah, Vice Chairperson of Membership and Public Relations Committee, extend a very heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you for today's session dedicated to the timeless wisdom of Thirukkurrall. Today, we embark on a journey of introspection, enlightenment, and profound understanding as we delve not merely to analyze the verses of Thirukkural academically, but also to immerse ourselves in its essence, to reflect upon its teachings, and to apply its principles in our daily lives. Thirukkural is a treasure of love, wisdom, and moral teachings. Before we proceed, I, on behalf of CTC, would take a moment to express my sincerest gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Deepak Trolchawala for all the hard work, dedication, and meticulous planning put into organizing our today's session on Thirukulam on the art of health management. Sir, your efforts truly made a significant difference in ensuring the smooth execution of today's session. Thank you once again for your exceptional efforts. We look forward to collaborating with you on future endeavors and continuing to make a positive impact together. I would request CA Neha Gadda, Joint Secretary of CTC, for her opening remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Ishita, and welcome, sir. I'll take 2 minutes to introduce the Chamber of Tax Consultant. And the Chamber of Tax Consultant is entering its 99 years, and it's a non-profit making organization with a core objective of professional development for its members and spreading across the accounting, tax, and legal aspects of it. It's a powerhouse of knowledge, and we have galaxy of past presidents like Dr. Soli Dastur, Shri V.H. Patil, K. Shivram, and Shri Y.P. Trivedi, which makes us feel very, very proud. And CTC also has a very unique journal, which is published month on month, and it's very informative and tries to cover a special story in every of its journal. And we also conduct few workshops and seminars, study circles and RRCs for our members. And for student members, we conduct debate competition, essay competition, moot courts. And yeah, so we are very happy to welcome you, sir. And without further delay, we would like to listen to you on art of health management. Thank you so much.
I request CA Premal Gandhi, Chairman of the committee, for his remarks.
Thank you, Ashita. Thank you, Nihabin, for putting that up, starting with the topic of today's session, as well as describing what we do at Chamber. And as Ashita already mentioned, we are really honored, and thank you, Deepak sir, for ensuring that we do this entire program. You were the instrumental light probably where we could get connected with Ramaswami sir, and that is where the whole thing started. So a big, big thank you. We look forward for such more interactions and much more sessions in future. Obviously, as a committee, what we do is this is a membership and public relations committee of the chambers, which does this kind of programs, apart from the regular tax and advisory service programs that the chamber does. So we do a self-awareness series where we cover a lot of non-technical topics, which obviously provide a lot of insights. So the topic for today obviously is on those lines only. And I'm pretty sure, obviously, post-COVID, or the biggest probably learning from COVID has been that to take how to manage your health, and the art of management of health has probably the biggest, at least for me, that is probably one of the biggest and single biggest learning kind of a thing. And that is where Thirukkural, how is the art, or age-old art, which Ramaswami will take us today, will explain us how we could do basic things which could take us take our health to a much better level. And given the regular stress we undergo, what we should ideally, how do we not do certain things, and how do we do basic things which can take care of the entire health. I think, as we always hear, probably we had a lot of people earlier who had this wisdom, but unfortunately it had got lost somewhere. And we are indebted to people like Ramaswamy sir who managed to get this wisdom out and pass it on to us so that probably we'll learn something better post-COVID. So I would not like to come in between the speaker and you. And obviously, everybody would like to hear the easy things from, or the basic things which Ramaswamy sir will help us guide to take care of our health. So looking forward to such session from Ramaswamy sir. Once again, really thankful to Ramaswamy sir for spending this time out from his busy schedule and come as an address over here. Sir, we are really thankful for you to take this invite from our side and look forward to a real good session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ashita.
Thank you, Neha ma'am and Premal sir, for your insights. It is my proud privilege to introduce our today's speaker. He is the author of the book Thirukkurrall on the Art of Health Management, graduate in chemistry from Presidency College, Madras, and in law from Madras Law College. He has been awarded PhD in December 2005 in International Taxation by BITS Pilani on the topic Tax Avoidance through Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement by Transnational Corporations. He has a lot of experience. He has been enrolled as advocate in November 1974, practiced for 2 years on civil side, again revived practice from July 2004 after taking VRS from Indian Revenue Service with headquarters at Hyderabad, appearing before AP High Court in income tax appeals and writs, and also before Karnataka High Court and various benches of the ITAT located in Hyderabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Vizag, Pune, and Jaipur since July 2004. He has joined Indian Revenue Service in November 1976. After training in Mussoorie Academy and Nagpur Academy, worked for 8 years in Bangalore, 10 years in Bombay, 5 years in Hyderabad, and 3 years in Jaipur. After the 28 years experience in income tax department in all, 6 years in assessments, both junior and senior levels, 8.5 years in investigation, and 6 years as senior DR in income tax appellate tribunal, both in Bombay and Hyderabad, and 4 years as commissioner of income tax in Hyderabad and Jaipur, both in appeals and in administration. During the stint in investigation in Bombay, conceived, planned, and carried out searches in Harshad Mehta and other cases in capital market. Consecutively co-opted as member in Jan Kirman Committee of RBI. As Deputy Commissioner, assessments assessed big corporates and banks like L&T Limited, Cadbury's, Blowplast, eMerc, SBI, Bank of Baroda, Bank of America, etc. In the case of Larsen and Turbo, an addition of over ₹1 crore made in the assessment for assessment year 1984-85 was conceded by Nani Palkhiwala before Commissioner Appeals. Took voluntary retirement from service on 21st June 2004 and started practice as advocate, particularly before the Honorable High Court of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Madras, Orissa, Bombay, and Rajasthan, and also before various benches of Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. He has to his accolades a lot of awards. He has received Best Probationer's Medal from the then Finance Minister Shri H.M. Patel for the year 1976-77. Received Personal Commendation in 1985 from the then Finance Minister Shri V.P. Singh for carrying out successful investigation in big cases. Received Outstanding Public Servant Award from JC's Bombay in 1991. Received special commendation from the then Governor RBI, Dr. C. Rangarajan, for contribution in the investigation into the securities scam of 1992. Received commendation from the special bench, the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal in the case of Assistant CIT versus Nagarjun Investment Trust Private Limited. Received the Best Tax Advocate in Twin Cities Award, that is IPA Proficiency Award for the year 2013 from IPA Educational Society. He has to his feather lots of publications and academic activities, like he has published a lot of articles on taxation and corporate governance in tax journals like ITR, CTR, BCA Journal, Income Tax Review, Business Line, etc. 2 articles on corporate governance, on public interest in corporate governance and globalization as part of a book, Corporate Governance Concept and Dimensions, published in August 2003, where the other contributories include Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Dr. Bimal Jhalan, Dr. Y.V. Reddy, Dr. P.S. Sanjeeva Reddy, etc. Participating in professional seminars conducted by ICAI and Institute of Company Secretaries, Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Bangalore, Bombay, Hyderabad, Jaipur, etc. He's been a visiting faculty in the National Academy for Direct Tax, Nagpur, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy, Hyderabad, UTI ICM, Direct Tax Regional Training Institutes at Bangalore, Bombay, Calcutta, and Lucknow, BITS Pilani, JNIDB, etc. With this brief introduction, I request Ramaswami sir to please take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Friends, thank you very much for the nice introduction. I would straight away go to the topic of the day. I would appeal to all of you that we need not have a separate question answer session. Any participant would like to raise an issue can post a question in the chat box and one of the members would read it out. So it can be continued like that, right? So,
Yes, sir.
Now, how many of you, I'm not sure, are aware of Thirukkurrall as a Sangam literature that was in the 1st century BC? And this is a non-religious text. See, this is the most translated, third largest translated text in the world, next only to Bible and Quran. Whereas Bible and Quran are religious texts, that is why in the preface I've called it as an a-religious text. A-religious text. It has nothing to do with any religion. It is down to earth and broadly divided into 3 divisions. Dharma, Arth and Kam. In Tamil, Aram, Porul, Inbam. There are 38 chapters under Dharma, 70 chapters under Kam, Arth, and 25 on Kam. Totally 133 chapters, 10 verses in each, and totally 1,330 verses. That is why 133 feet high statue of Thiruvallur, the poet, has been erected by the then Chief Minister Karunanidhi in Kanyakumari. That is the cover. This cover design incidentally made by my granddaughter, who was in 9th last year. And now I have taken particularly chapter 95, which is on medicine. All along, whenever I was taking off from not practicing any exercise and all, I used to say Thirukkurrall, which talks of everything, does not prescribe any exercise to be practiced, yoga and all. Then I found I was wrong. I have been carrying on a sort of research into Thirukkurrall for the last 15 years. In the year 2013, I delivered a 1-hour talk in Aligarh Muslim University on the topic financial management, micro and macro, Thirukkurrall on financial management. That was very well received. And as Premalbhai said, during COVID, I started memorizing when I was at home throughout, beyond 600 verses. I already knew about 600 verses. So beyond 600 verses, I started memorizing, and that is how I came up to 1080 verses. And then all my friends have been telling, you have been quoting Thirukkurrall in your articles and all. Why don't you start writing instead of merely giving speeches? That is not enough. And that is how, during COVID, when everybody became conscious of one's health, then I thought this is the right topic to begin with. And that is how it started. And there are any number of translations. As I have already told you, this is the most translated text, third largest translated text. But then this kind of topical work has not been done on. That is why in the postscript, I have already committed myself. I have made a public commitment that I would be writing on many more. The next one is in the progress now, that is on mental health. Here, if you have any questions today on mental health, I mean on stress and all, I would be addressing them. But in the book, I have not yet covered. I have started, that is why, with one chapter on pranayama. How it all started. You see, the first verse, the chapter 95, that is 941st verse of Thirukkurrall is, Miginum Kurayinum Noiseyum Dulor Valimudala Yenniya Mundru. I've transliterated in the book. That is, the moment there is a deficit or excess of any one of the three sources of energy for us, then it results in a disease. That is a short dictum. Which are the three? Earlier, this verse was interpreted, the three as Vadam, Pittam, Sletumam. That is, Vadam is excess of air, Pittam is excess of acidity, Sletumam is again the temperature. But then these are all they are not the causes, they are the effects. The cause is what we breathe in, what we drink, and what we eat. Now, in all these three sources of energy, if there is excess or deficit, then that results in. Now, how can there be excess or deficit? Now, we all know that we have to breathe in. We take it for granted because we think it is involuntary. We consciously take perhaps only food and to some extent water or other liquids. But then when we take this interpretation, there is one commentary in Tamil by poet Ramalingam. He had given a different interpretation, that these effects are caused by excess or deficiency in consumption of air, water, and food. Vali Mudala Yenniya Mundru means only air, water, and food. Nature mandates these three as our main sources of energy, that is oxygen. The moment there is excess or deficit in one or more of the three sources of energy, disease results. This, in simple truism, is the plain meaning of this verse. This maxim of Kurrall advocates preventive care to avoid diseases. Once a person falls sick, then only the need to consult a physician arises. In verses 948 and 949, Thiruvallur prescribes the method of diagnosis also to be employed by, we would come to in a short while. Now, when it comes to breathing, how many of you, some of you would be aware that allopathy discovered about 60-65 years back that our breathing alternates between left nostril and right nostril almost every 20 minutes, they say. But that is not correct. according to another ancient text, which is 3,000 years old in Tamil, called Thirukkurrall, there is a big chapter on breath rhythm and breath cycles. I have given in this book at page 60, the English translation of that. Let me read that. On Fridays, Mondays, and Wednesdays, prana dominates in the nadi that is to the left. That I'm repeating, Fridays, Mondays, and Wednesdays, prana dominates in the nadi that is to the left. On Saturdays, Sundays, and Tuesdays, it courses high in the right. On Thursdays, prana flows in the left. In the waxing moon's fortnight, and in the right, in the waning moon's fortnight. Today being Friday, you can take a deep breath and then try to blow it on the back of your palm. You would find, if you are not suffering from cold, it is predominantly through left. You can test it yourself, even now. And our day starts from sunrise, not from middle of the night. Our day starts from sunrise to again sunrise. That is how the cycle changes. Now, when we inhale, what is the content of the air? I've given. See, it contains 78% of nitrogen and about 16% of oxygen, and the remaining minor gases. Now, this is how we are exhaling this. When we take consciously the breaths, then we are able to retain a little more oxygen. You would all appreciate one thing. If we consciously breathe in and take more oxygen, that it cuts down on our appetite and our need for food to some extent. In fact, physicians agree that by practicing pranayama, any type of breathing exercise, we would be in a better position to automatically reduce our diet to the whatever amount we require for our physical form for each one of us. Here, there is no one size fits all. When it comes to diet, we will see in a short while. When we consciously breathe in and out, about 4% to 5% of oxygen is retained by us. When we do so consciously, we will realize that there is a consequent reduction in our intake of food because our requirement of oxygen is otherwise satiated. As a result, the blood pressure becomes normal, sugar problem gets resolved, and the sense of well-being improves many notches. This nomenon explains how some sages would live hundreds of years in penance without any food or water, because they were able to take energy directly from solar system. And through proper breathing exercises, they were able to get the required energy. And this is why we are advised to concentrate on our breathing during meditation. In the 1990 World Cup football final match, the German player, Bramme, stood calmly for about 30 seconds before successfully scoring the winning penalty. He said in an interview later, he was meditating for those 30 seconds before taking the strike. When we do not breathe in adequate air, we tend to consume more food and less water, and that causes imbalance, leading to many diseases. Some chronic and others seasonal. The diseases, again, it depends. And hence the dictum of Thirukkurrall quoted earlier. Indeed, Thiruvallur lays equal emphasis on learning through listening and states in verse 412 that one should eat a little food only when there is no food for thought. In fact, now we are sharing the food for thought. He says, when there is no food for thought, then you take a little food. That is not in the chapter on medicine. It is in a different chapter. That is for learning through listening. I mean, this webinar or seminar, these are all the learning experience. by listening to and sharing the knowledge. And that is where conscious breathing is the basic need. How does one ensure that there is no deficiency in the intake of air? This leads us to the importance of pranayama or any set of breathing exercises. Unfortunately, in our curricular studies, this aspect of breathing properly is not emphasized upon, except in selected education institutions. It is high time that it is mandated in all the schools and colleges. The Japanese have a tradition even in their factories. I have seen that in TVA Suzuki and all earlier. The first activity in the morning for all workers, from the chief executive down to the last level, is to assemble for a physical workout for 15 minutes. The purpose is obvious, to keep fit. A word from the common sense point of view. We neglect the natural ventilator we are bestowed with, and ultimately, some of us reach a stage when we are put on an artificial ventilator. During the pandemic period, there was a global crisis due to short supply of ventilators. This is mainly due to the fact that we have not realized the importance of conscious breathing. When we breathe consciously, we breathe out carbon dioxide generated from food and water, which is also absolutely necessary. Now, this is also very important. Whatever we take in, the toxic material or non-toxic waste, all should be excreted. If it is air, through the nostrils, otherwise also. And that brings me to the next verse, that is about the food and water, where he says there is no need for any medicine. Marindana vendavam yakekku. Lifetime, he says, if we consider what we have already taken, has it been digested, assimilated, and more importantly, whether the waste material has been eliminated from our system. This aspect is not emphasized upon even by dietitians. They go by the diet chart. They have maybe a fixed menu for different 4 or 5 types. But ultimately, this is where the chapter commencing on page 41 of the book is emphasizing on. In the earlier chapter on pranayama, we have already seen how excess or deficit in the intake of air, water and food would result in disease. Only the intake of air was dealt with in the discussion based on verse 941. In this section, we shall delve into verses 942 to 947 of Thirukkurrall, which touch upon the following broad topics. You will find these very questions, which I have raised on page 42, have been appreciated by Justice V. Ramaswami, the retired Chief Judge of Supreme Court, who retired last year in June. On page 10 of the book, he has commented upon in his foreword how to avoid or prevent taking any medicine. That is one. Two, how does one gain healthy longevity? That is the objective of this book. When to eat, when not to eat, what to eat, what not to eat, and how much do we consume? What are the pros and cons of consuming food on the above lines? How would one be affected if they eat like a glutton or like an ignoramus of the above principles? The beauty of Thirukkurrall is, unlike the other texts, he doesn't stop with the do's and don'ts. Thiruvalluvar, he goes into why not and how not, how and why. And these are also dealt with. Now, how to avoid and why to avoid? And what happens when you do not avoid and what happens when you avoid? If one eats after ensuring that they have already digested what they had eaten earlier, no drugs would be required to keep the body in good health. Now, the English translation of Professor Sundaram is, his body needs no drugs, who only eats after digesting what he ate before. Modern science has amply confirmed the fact that restraint in eating is the secret to sound health. And it naturally follows that when the body is sound, so is the mind. Again, talking of restraint, it ought to come from within, not from without. This is the most important thing. The moment somebody else puts a restraint on us, we follow Adam. I mean, apple was prohibited, prescribed, therefore he ate apple. Therefore, some people used to say, had he been prohibited from eating the serpent, he would have eaten the serpent and human race would not have come. So here, that is why the restraint has to come from within. It has to be self-restraint and not an enforced one. Arundiyadu attradu potrivun means we have to take into consideration what we have already eaten, how much we have eaten, when we have eaten, and whether it has been digested and assimilated as expected. We would also need to take into account whether excretion of the unnecessary has taken place on time. This introspection or self-inquiry has to be voluntary and would lead to tremendous health benefits. In 943, again he says, Attral alavarindu. So, once we determine whether the food that has been eaten has been digested well, it is important that whatever is eaten next is taken in the right measure. Moderation in eating is the secret to healthy longevity. As I have quoted Shakespeare, good digestion waits on appetite and health on both. Good digestion waits on appetite and health on both appetite and digestion. The sense of moderation in eating has to be self-imposed. It cannot be taught. See, everything cannot be taught. Some things we have to learn by experience. It is learned by experience. Some people have an innate sense of how much to eat. The Talmud, the sacred book of the Jews, says that in eating, a third of the stomach should be filled with food, a third with the drink, and the other third left empty. That is very important. Another literary piece in Tamil, Atichudi, it says, Pasittu Pusi. That is, eat only when you are hungry. So, if you are not hungry, do not eat. That is a simple secret. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to take 3 meals a day or 4 meals a day. Consider whether you are hungry. If you are not hungry, say no. You might have read the book, Don't Say Yes When You Want to Say No. You might remember that. Now, so you have considered, now you have considered and determined that you have already excreted all the waste material also after digesting, assimilating whatever you have eaten. Then you must eat only whatever suits you. That too, when to eat? When you have a pinching hunger, not ordinary hunger. That is a catchword. Make sure that your previous meal has been digested well and wait until you are hungry enough for your next meal. Then eat whatever is in harmony with your health. Kadaipidithu, Maralla Kadaipidithu means that some good things are not good for all, nor are they always good or when eaten in excess. Hence, a wise person would use his personal experience to determine what is suitable to them and reject what is not in harmony with their good health. For instance, yesterday, when I went to the Telangana High Court, I ate lunch, 2 idlis and 2 vadas and some curd rice. The evening, I was not feeling any hunger. I told my wife, no, I had only a mango then. Happily went to bed. Morning, I was feeling absolutely fine. Tuvarapasitti indicate that the mere craving to eat something is not enough to show that the stomach is ready. One should wait for piercing hunger before having the next meal. Most of us have this fixed notion that 3 meals a day is a must, whether one is hungry or not. This assumption should be given up. Intermittent fasting is a popular concept these days. It is nothing new. During the 11th day of the moon cycle, the Ekadashi Vratam, as it is called, is observed. This Nonbu or Vratam, which has been observed by our ancestors for many generations and which is in harmony with nature, also follows the same concept of eating at regular intervals. It is interesting to observe here that World does not prescribe or prescribe vegetarian or non-vegetarian food, because whatever suits you when it comes to. The emphasis is laid on 2 aspects. Eat any food that is in harmony with your body. Eat only when there is piercing hunger. In fact, one of my dearest friends, Mr. Sindamarai Kannan, who retired as Principal Chief Commissioner Madras in 1953, he addresses me as Anna, elder brother, 2 years younger to me also. He asked me, Anna, how did you not touch on avoiding non-vegetarian food? Because chapter 26 of Thirukkurrall specifically says so. I replied to him, that is meant for ascetics. Because chapter 25 onwards up to chapter 37, they are all for ascetics. Though here he has put, some of you might recall or you will be aware, the Latin American high altitude mountains. In 1972, there was an air crash. For a long time, the survivors were not found. They were found after a gap of some 79 days or 59 days, I vaguely remember. There were only 16 survivors. They crashed onto snow-capped mountain peaks where nothing was growing. And when they were placed after 79 days, they were all found to be healthy. And they ate. What did they eat? They ate those bodies of the victims which did not decay because of the snow. Whatever suits you is, I'm not suggesting for a moment you go carnival. I'm only saying what is available, what is grown in your area. If you eat that, always it will suit you. Do not eat unseasonal fruit. Do not eat what is a seasonal fruit in some other part of the world. Then you will be all right. Again, he lays emphasis on this excretion. That is why I have elaborated on that. That is eliminating all the toxic or non-toxic waste. It's a process of cleansing our body of all waste and toxic material. In the 3 verses quoted earlier, the 2 terms, attral and attradu, have been repeatedly used by Thiruvallur. Thereby, he has laid emphasis on the significance of excreting all waste material from our system. This is a very, very important aspect in maintaining good health. In 944, it is further qualified as attradu arindu, that is, you must consider and determine, which one should have knowledge of how to get all the waste out of the system. In this regard, one of the stories of Tenali Rama are quoted here. A renowned and the learned courtier of Vijayanagar Empire is worth recapitulating. Once Emperor Sri Krishnadevaraya posed a query to his courtiers. which activity gives maximum satisfaction to the human being? Some said a sumptuous royal meal would give maximum satisfaction and joy, while some others said spending time with their families gave them immense satisfaction. Some others mentioned that conjugal pleasure gave them immeasurable joy. A few poets said that literary activities gave them evolved satisfaction. Tenali Rama said, Maharaja, no other activity can equal the satisfaction and relief one gets in having a clean bowel movement. The whole court burst into laughter. When the emperor teased Tenali Rama on his remark, he decided that one day he would prove his point to the emperor. He observed and found out that the emperor invariably used his restroom a couple of hours after a good meal. So he invited the emperor for a special dinner at his home. The emperor accepted the invite and honored him on the appointed day. After a delicious meal on that day, Tenali Rama, as was his wont, entertained the emperor for a long time with humorous anecdotes and prolonged the session, when it was the usual time for the Maharaja's visit to the restroom. Tenali Rama suddenly went out of the chamber and bolted the door from outside. There was no other exit. There was no attached bathroom. The Maharaja had the urge to go to the toilet. After making him plead for mercy, Tenali Rama opened the door. The emperor dashed off to the restroom, and when he came out, Tenali Rama reminded him of his earlier query. Sri Krishnadevaraya readily agreed that he derived soul satisfaction in the real sense after the bowels moved. In this context, another humorous story comes to my mind. Once all the parts of the body were fighting with each other so as to who should be the boss. The brain said, I am the nerve center. If I die, none of you can continue in this body. Therefore, I am the boss. The eye said, only I inform you where the danger lurks. I am the window to your world, so I am the boss. The nose said, unless I breathe in and out, you won't get oxygen for your functioning. The mouth said, all the organs are fed energy by virtue of the food I eat. Therefore, I should be the boss. Now, every part of the body, including the lungs, the heart, the stomach, the liver, et al., claimed individually to be mastermind behind the life. It was finally the turn of the asshole. All the other parts laughed at it in a teasing and slighting manner. The anus was put off by such degrading and disparaging treatment meted out to it. Peeved, it simply shut itself off. As a result, in a matter of few days, the impact was terrible on all parts of the body. None wanted to die. Consequently, all the parts, except the brain, yielded, rather surrendered to the mandate of the azole. Yet, the brain was not giving up. All the other parts begged and pleaded with the brain. Finding no other alternative, the brain too succumbed. Thus, excretion is significant for the normal functioning of all parts of the body. And the moral of the story is, you need not be the brain to be the boss. It is enough if you are a bloody asshole. Now comes what to eat. We have already touched what to eat should be whatever suits you. What not to eat and how much to eat. What to eat? Yes, you must eat only whatever suits you. So per contra, whatever doesn't suit you, you should not. That is the basic verse. If one eats only what suits oneself and learn to say no when the quantity exceeds what they can comfortably take, that is exercise, self-restraint, they can save a lot of trouble in terms of health. This is a very interesting concept. In general, we assume that we have the liberty to binge on whatever food suits us. Even whatever suits us, we should not indulge in. As already seen in the earlier verses, self-restraint is imperative, and 945 reiterates this again by emphasizing that even foods which are acceptable to one system should not be taken in excess. Again, the acceptability quotient varies from season to season. I mean, I have seen in Rajasthan, winter, I used to get much better hunger. We could easily digest whatever was given, dal bati churma. But you can't eat dal bati in Bombay. You can't digest it at all. Once when we were staying in Bombay, I had this dal bati from a Marwadi friend. Till next day lunch, I did not feel hunger at all. It went on like that. But I could enjoy when I was posted in Jaipur during winter. Therefore, our own appetite and hunger change from season to season, place to place. So we must be conscious of that. In the globalized market, fruits and vegetables are preserved in warehouses and marketed even off-season. When eaten out of season, such heavily refrigerated food can cause disagreement, leading to many diseases. Therefore, for good health, Thirukkurrall emphasizes strict application of two rules: finding out what food suits, when, and controlling the quantity by self-restraint. In short, to ensure prevention of diseases, eat agreeable food with self-restraint. Now, what happens when we eat more, eat in excess? That is what he says in 946. When one who stops just a little before he feels he has had enough retains the joy of eating. On the other hand, the overeater invites disease the moment we exceed the limit. A crisp translation of this verse by Professor K. Srinivasan goes thus: as temperance great pleasure gives, so with a glutton disease lives. I'm repeating, as temperance great pleasure gives, so with a glutton disease lives. The term Kaliperi Rayan in Tamil means a character akin to an animal. Therefore, the verse implies that a human being should not devour food like an animal. He must eat only as a human being. How would one suffer if one eats like a glutton or like an ignoramus of the above principles? One who eats beyond the limits of his digestive fire, that is what he calls digestive fire, as Valdua puts it, is a victim of all kinds of illnesses. The ignorant man who eats beyond the measure of the fire, that is, beyond the power of digestion, must be prepared for all sorts of ailments. VVS Iyer, who was known as Tamil grandfather, uses the expression the internal heat to describe the fire of the stomach, fire in the belly. Food taken should be adequate to put out that fire in the belly without dousing the fire. I mean, I've quoted here the Shakespearean lines also. Will fortune never come with both hands full, but write her fair words still in foulest letters? She either gives a stomach and no food, such are the poor in health, or else a feast and takes away the stomach, such are the rich, that have abundance and enjoy it not. I mean, we are seeing this. The olden days, actually, diabetes was considered as a rich man's disease. But now everybody is found to be suffering from. In nature, availability of good food is inversely proportional to having a healthy stomach. That is what it does. That brings me to the last chapter in the book, on the method of diagnosis. The method of diagnosis, here also it is very interesting how Thirukkurrall prescribes. Noi nadi, noi mudal nadi, aduthanikkum vai nadi, vaipachaya. It means make a careful diagnosis, discover the true cause of the disease, think and find the proper remedy and apply it effectively. Do not go by symptoms, find the root cause of the disease. Now, it's an all-encompassing aphorism for the physician as well as the surgeon. The first step in the treatment of any disease is to identify and list out the symptoms. And the next is to determine the causes due to which the patient is suffering from the disease. Unfortunately, in recent times, many assume the systems to represent the disease itself. In this word assume, should be barred both in legal profession and in the medical profession. The administrative law lecturer I had in 1972-73, he used to say, dissect the word assume, ASS/U/ME. Whenever you assume a thing, you make an ass of you and me, he used to say. And that is what happens. When the physician assumes you are suffering from something, without going by basic common sense approach. And what are the parameters for clinical examination, which is also absent now? The parameters are, while prescribing a treatment, a good physician should take into consideration all the parameters pertaining to the patient, the progress of the disease, and the corresponding season of the place at the relevant time. Now, we all know most of them, even in YouTube, the other day I was seeing, these are all the standards for American people. Now, based on the American standards, everything is prescribed all over them. Because whatever suits the Americans should suit everybody else. That is what they think. That is a very, very wrong approach. We are all aware, Pfizer was shut out of India, Pfizer's vaccine, during COVID. And they were making a big hullabaloo on that, hue and cry, why we are not allowed. They used to say, we have done extensive trials. In fact, one of my dearest friend's daughter, who is a senior consultant of cardiologist in US, she is an American citizen. She was telling last year, uncle, when they claimed to have conducted 12,000 test trials, there was only one Asian American on which it was done. That is why many Asian Americans, they got the infection again, even after taking Pfizer. The Indian government insisted they must conduct tests here and show, which they were not prepared to do. That is where the season of the place, I have put it, if a simulated environment were so easy to create, why is it that no one has managed to manufacture Scotch whiskey outside Scotland? Now, simulated environment, these tests are done. It cannot be. Therefore, what is suitable in our country? Even in our country, we have different climes, different seasons, weather conditions. All these things have to be gone into. In fundamental science, that is why there is a Murphy's Law statement, which says variables don't vary, constants are not constants. Any of you, if you had accompanied any family member or friend or relative into cath lab at the time of angiogram, you would have observed the systolic pressure and diastolic pressure are constantly changing. They don't remain constant. They are changing almost every 2-3 seconds. Because the stress the patient undergoes, its impact is immediately seen in the blood pressure. Indeed, there is one word repeatedly used here, Nadi. You might have heard of Nadi Joshyam, that is different. Nadi is pulse. Now we are testing the pulse. In ancient systems of medicine in Bharat, diagnosis of any disease was based on the clinical examination of the Nadi, the pulse. When the pulse rate is checked at different points in the body, it is interesting to find that it is not the same at any given point of time at all such points. The physicians of yore developed the technique of analyzing the symptoms and causes of any disease by closely observing the pulse rate on an empty stomach after meal and so on. However, what is normal for one need not be so for another. In other words, in medicine, there is no one size fits all. That is why in 949 he says, Uttran Alavum. What are the, you might have heard Dr. B.M. Hegde in the YouTube. He used to say, average height of Indians is around 5 feet 6 inches or 5 feet 7 inches. So will you cut off some portion of Amitabh Bachchan and give it to somebody else, a tall man? That is not so. Each human being is a standard unto himself. That is what is Uttranala. It lays emphasis on the basic parameters of the patient, and there is no need to compare the same with the parameters of another patient. Each person is a standard unto himself. Both Siddha and Ayurveda systems of medicine recognize and apply these principles. Unfortunately, of late, corporate hospitals have brought in the lure of the lucre in rendering medical treatment. However, it should be mentioned that there are a number of physicians and surgeons who try not to fall a prey to this practice of prescribing too many diagnostic tests, of making unnecessary references to specialists, or of performing unnecessary surgical procedures with a view to achieving the monthly targets. I've seen in one of the multi-specialty clinic, by accident, when I was told to wait in a room adjoining the lab, on the board, they had written target for this month. Pharmacy, so much. X-ray department, so much. For each specialty, target. And this has to be pulled up. Their species is the honest practitioners of medicine. Their species is endangered by the cutthroat competition raging in the health industry, nurtured by the pharma industry and the insurance companies. Now, because if physicians and surgeons follow the basic principles ordained in these verses, the art of health management would indeed be revived in the truest sense of it for the larger benefit of mankind. What are the 4 dimensions, 4 pillars of the art of health management? One is the patient. Second is the physician. Third, the drugs, including the pharmaceutical industry. Fourth, the paramedical staff, including the personal attendant of the patient. The attributes of these factors are as follows. The patient's cooperation in disclosing all symptoms correctly, his capacity to endure pain, and his ability to follow the physician's direction strictly. The physician's kindness, knowledge of and experience in treating the diagnosed disease, the efficacy of the medicine to cure the disease, and the attendant's positive attitude, compassion, common sense, and experience in serving the patients. In the name of civilization, a 5th dimension has been added in the form of medical insurance. It is jocularly said, the US, one cannot afford to sneeze without being covered by medical insurance. From the above 9 verses, we can perceive that the concept of the art of health management can be easily practiced by self-discipline. Sans self-discipline, one might invite many diseases. And the last 3 verses come into play in the context of how to diagnose, how to treat, and the other dynamics of treatment. The verses discussed in this book cover the area of physiological health. However, there is one more equally important dimension, namely the psychological health. These two are intertwined. Thiruvallur's work is a complete core. Although under the chapter medicine, only physiological health has been dealt with, Thirukkurrall covers the topic of mental health extensively. This dimension will be covered in my next book, but in this session, I am going to deal with that also. There, I would like to read out what Rajaji said about Thiruvallur himself. Rajaji has translated selections from Thirukkurrall. Now, he says, it's very interesting. Thiruvallur was one of those rare and great men whose Catholic spirit rose above all denominations. I would pass here for a moment. Catholic spirit has got nothing to do with Catholic religion. Catholicity of outlook means accepting all the humanity with equanimity and compassion. His Catholic outlook spirit rose above all denominations, and whose vision was not clouded by dogma or prejudice of any kind. His teachings elude classification on any denominational basis. That is why he called it as a-religious. Thiruvallur's approach to moral doctrine is marked by a very thorough knowledge of human psychology and a desire to help imperfect men with practical hints in the struggle against evil. Throughout, we can see how the poet brings everything down to the level of practicality without losing hold of the idea. Neha was also mentioning about the stress. In fact, I used to give talks on the joy of stress. As Commissioner Jaipur, I had delivered the talk in Bitspilani also. Then one of my officers, lady officers, she was asking me, sir, how can there be joy of stress? I knew she had gone through a very difficult pregnancy and ultimately succeeded in begetting a beautiful child. I asked her, how did you feel when you gave birth to your child? Immediately she brightened up and said, sir, definitely that joy cannot be expressed. And that is how we absorb stress. Our capacity to absorb stress is immense. You know, the 100-meter gold medalist, his performance in the final was better than his performance in the heats. Maximum stress and the best performance. Or you take a dramatist, whatever they may be practicing in the rehearsal, ultimately in the presence of audience, he comes out with the best performance. Therefore, stress, without stress, we cannot perform better. We should know how to take the stress into our stride, and that is how we learn and improve and evolve as good beings. May I stop here? Premal Bhai?
Yes,
Have I
sir.
put you all to sleep?
No, sir. We are listening. We are mesmerized.
So far I didn't get any question. Was it so clear or?
No, so there have been some questions. It says, how can we know what suits our body? That Mr. Bimod Kumar Banka has raised this issue.
Yes. No, what suits our body, we know by experience. Yes, when you eat something, for instance, today the president could not come to address because he has some throat problem. He could not address. Now,
President today could not come.
sorry,
Vice
Sir, he
President.
has, sir,
Vice
sir,
President.
he has joined. Sir, he has joined. Sir, he has joined.
Very good, very good. Now, let me tell you from personal experience. I used to take cold water and used to get throat problem. Nowadays, I take warm water even in summer. And that saves me from a lot of bother. Because our gut health is the most important to begin with. For whatever doesn't suit us, then we are not able to get proper hunger. It is not only one day. In fact, non-vegetarian food, if you consult with the physicians, it takes 48 to 72 hours to digest. It is not. Vegetarian food is the ideal that way. But then you have to find out what suits you and what doesn't. When you are complaining of some allergy, what does the physician tell you? Find out which causes the allergy. That is how you have to, it is only by trial and error. But then going by genetic code, your parents know what suits you generally, unless I would add the rider, you change your habits because of the company you keep. Ultimately, it is a company that determines our tastes also. Generally, we don't change our taste. We are prepared to change our opinion. Why do we all say our mother's preparation is the standard? Because that is registered in our mind. We always compare anybody else's preparation with that of our mother. That is how you find out what suits you, and ultimately it is self-discipline, self-inquiry and self-discipline. Any supplementary on that?
It is good to come out with a decision on comparison of all the pathies of treatment. Ayurveda is best known with somebody somehow take decision by pulse study, etc.
No, I am not advocating for this or that system. I am saying as long as you get a proper physician. In fact, I know myself, there are so many allopathy physicians who prescribe even Ayurvedic medicines and vice versa. If you go to Jindal Institute of Naturopathy in Bangalore, their method of diagnosis is the allopathy system. But they give food as medicine. See, when you eat food as medicine, you will not reach a stage where medicine becomes your food. Because some people swallow so many tablets a day. That will all come down. I mean, personally speaking, I have been in the border of sugar line for the last more than 12 years. I have not taken any allopathy drug. I've been managing my self-control with the diet and some Siddha tablet called Madhumega. We have to ultimately find out, though it is against the principles of natural justice, that is why even doctors are prescribed or prevented from diagnosing themselves. We must submit ourselves to a competent physician and find out when we go wrong. But generally, I would say with pardonable pride, when I control the diet, I become all right. I mean, my sugar level has remained normal. In fact, that is one of the reasons in 2020, when I found it was like suddenly shooting up. Then my wife said, you can control. I followed that. I brought down the sugar level from 142 to 103 spread over 9 months, gradually cutting off certain weaknesses. I have had a great weakness for all fried stuff. I cut it short, gave up for some time, 6 months. Spread over 9 months, I could reduce my weight from 76 kilos to 69. Later on, I relaxed. Now I am around 72, 73. But then my sugar level has come down from 142 to 110. The HbA1c has come down from 7.2 to 5.7. Now it is around 6.2. At my age, it is normal. I am 73 years. We have to adjust. Ultimately, that is what? As I told you. Once we determine, it's a daily affair. Let us not have a fixed menu. You can have fixed menu of certain healthy items. Extra eating, binge eating should be avoided. Sugar is the three white poisons. Sugar, maida, and salt. So all white things are not necessarily good. All black things are not necessarily bad. Next, please.
Next question is, please tell us from Deepak sir, it is, please tell us the importance of sipping or drinking warm water and how bad is non-veg diet.
See, in fact, if you check up with the Buddhist monks, they say morning 2 glasses of warm water helps in regulating your bowel movement. I mean, we have discussed already, eliminating all the waste material is the most important aspect in keeping a good digestion. If you measure yourself, each one of us, we are as tall as 8 times this measure of your hand. And if you apply it on the abdomen, it is one measure like this. This causes everything. Nature, I would suggest you people to read The Importance of Living by Lin Yu Tong. He was a son of a missionary, Chinese, who migrated to US, settled down in US. This book was out of print for a long time. It is an all-time classic of 1938 or something. It's a wonderful book. There he writes beautifully. See, the most important activity is food. If that is not, like a starfish and all, it is not the stomach coming out and gobbling up the food. Why? God has given us, nature has given us this taste buds only in half the tongue, not even in the deep portion of the tongue. We should not become a slave of that. Keep it as your master. Sense of moderation. Nani Palkiwala used to repeatedly say, what we lack in this country is sense of discipline and sense of moderation. That is where we have to have. Again, we live and learn. You try with, now I'm not able to drink cold water at all. I don't like it. I've developed a distaste for that. Warm water always fits me well and immediately it soothes. In fact, morning I have 1.5 spoon of honey in a glass of warm water, lukewarm water, first thing, followed by sprouted fenugreeks, what you call menthulu, methi dana. That's, see, we have 6 types of tastes, not 4. Our Indian system, particularly in Tamil, we say one is sweet, another is bitter, then salty, then acidic. Astringent is another. Astringent is like alkaline taste. That is inippu, kasappu, tuvarpu, uppu, then karam, spicy. Generally, only 4 are recognized. This astringent taste, for instance, let me tell you, mango, Alfonso, some people were surprised to see me eating with the skin. Nature has provided the antacid in the skin. Food is acidic. when we clean up well and eat with the skin, we don't have to take antacid. That taste is called astringent taste, which is bland taste. So every day we must have a very little small quantity of some bitter taste also, and this astringent taste. Salt should be the minimum. Then, and this warm water is a wonderful thing. So even in flights, I request for, and it is available, because some flights it may not be available. Therefore, I carry my flask. I mean, you might have seen, off and on I've been sipping. It does help. I carry it in the court also. You can experience it and then learn from it. Next, please. Any other query?
There is a lot of noise around millets. What
Yes.
are your views on millet being included in diet, and to what extent it should be included?
As I said, I cannot fix my quantity as yours. You will have to find out. Millets, again, they are good. They medically, they are advised because they have a low glycemic index. They release the glycemic index very slowly. But again, we do make millet pongal. It is very tasty also. Ultimately, the quantity measure is individual, specific, person specific. Millets are good. You have to find out which one suits, what is grown nearer your area, like bajra and all. For instance, long back, about 40 years back, when I had gone on Recce to Kerala from Bangalore, reconnaissance, I was in the investigation. In Alappuzha, I was making incognito inquiries. I put it on silent mode and again I don't know. So I had 2 baked bananas, Nendrampadam, big ones, where generally chips are made, and a cup of tea. My lunch was over. Similarly, when I went to Chitradurga, I had bajra rotis. If you look for your type of food, wherever you go, it may not be available, or even if it is available, it may not be of good quality. We must adapt ourselves to the local food. Like in Ahmedabad or Baroda, they said South Indian pizza. On Uttappam, they have made, instead of pizza base, they had made it on Uttappam. It was horrible. Like in Jaipur, when my colleague's wife, she ordered for Chinese food in that famous Marwadi restaurant. It was horrible. So we must be choosy, but at the same time, depending on the local conditions. That is why I quoted that extreme example of the Agnes Mountains. Ultimately, people were surviving on human flesh, uncooked. Because that was the only thing available, nothing else was available. Like I avoid sandwiches, particularly when they are served in the flights. Because anything uncooked, when it is highly refrigerated, that carries all the organisms, microorganisms, which cause havoc with our health. Anything hot, that is why our ancient or even systems 40 years back, everybody did not have a refrigerator. Now they are advertising as if you must change your refrigerator every year. As far as possible, avoid refrigerated food. As far as possible, avoid sugar. Our requirement is hardly 6 grams a day or 36 grams a day sugar, maximum. That is the maximum. And less than 4 grams salt. The salty items again cause a lot of problems. Yes. Sorry? మురళీకృష్ణ
పెట్టేసి చేతిలో
May we request the participants to mute themselves, please?
somebody has switched on. Yes,
Sorry,
Prabhu.
sir.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It happens. Anything else?
Yeah, please share the juices you had to bring down the sugar levels. I'm diabetic too and wish to know.
I'm very happy to answer that. One thing is, I was taking this Madhumegam, 4 doses almost, I mean 2 doses in the form of powder, and then what I did, if I were taking 3 chapatis, I brought it down to 2.5. With 60 to 70% all vegetables. So automatically the carb content came down. Then there are specific yogasanas you can practice, preferably in the morning, apart from pranayama. I mean, while talking on pranayama, I have stressed already. When your intake of oxygen improves, automatically your requirement of food goes down. This has been confirmed by many physicians. In fact, to overcome the craving for sweets, I learned a great lesson from the top diabetologists in Bombay, way back 40 years back, when I was attending to my father in Bombay, Dr. Chandalia, near Opera House. He said, and which is a very commonsensical point of view. See, all of us, when we test whether one is diabetic or not, when we test our blood sugar level in the morning, it is always on the lower side. You know, our practice of aping the West, taking dessert at the end, it's a wrong practice. I'll tell you why. Scientifically, when the food goes in for digestion from the stomach to the intestine, that is the time the insulin secretion is activated. So when you take sweets at the end, the insulin secretion is raised to the peak, even in a normal person. There is nothing else to follow, then there is a steep crash. That's why you feel very sleepy when you have a heavy food. But when you take sweets in the beginning of a meal, even at the beginning of a breakfast, it cuts down on your appetite. Therefore, you end up eating overall less food than what you would have normally taken otherwise. Because when you take sweets at the end, you don't reserve space for them. And the peer pressure, when we go to some marriage or something, we find so many items. Here, I mean, I have been off and on putting myself off sweets even from my college days. Therefore, it is so easy to give up sweets. Now also I have given up. See, one way is I started taking only sweets made of jaggery, good, not sugar. Similarly, instead of polished rice, we switched over to hand pound rice. There is a lot of roughage. Roughage is very important in our natural roughage, not artificial. If you take a lot of vegetables, you get roughage, particularly green vegetables, all that. See, that is how I gradually reduced my weight effortlessly, spread over 9 months, 6 kilos. If you go to Jindal Institute and all, you may reduce 6 kilos in a matter of 2-3 weeks, but then you will not be able to maintain that once you come out of that. Here, it becomes, I mean, I'm not suggesting like Mark Twain, he found giving up smoking so easy. He gave it up many times. It is not like that. You have to have that self-discipline ultimately. You can do it once you feel. I mean, one of my dearest friends in Bombay, recently I came to know, today I came to know, he is 80 plus. He had given up tobacco completely. It is possible. What I call it as own power, willpower and own power. I won't touch it. That's all. Leave it. I won't touch it does not mean, like another friend, he was told, was an alcoholic. So the physician told him, don't touch your third peg. So, but after 1 month also his condition was bad. Then the doctor asked him, what happened? Doctor, I am following your rules very strictly. I take my first peg, I take my second peg, I keep my third peg aside, I take my fourth, fifth, sixth peg. Not that way. You can do it, Premal Bhai. It is not impossible.
Right.
But you must, yes.
The next question is, please suggest remedies and lifestyles for thyroid, piles, acid reflux.
I mean, here I am not an expert medical to give advice. Thyroid, I mean, you have to, once you have started on thyroid, once you have started on medicine, my relative is taking. Even, for instance, BP, that is the reward I got after searching Harshad Mehta in 92, 93. But it was brought down. I continue to take. I used to take 50 mg. Nowadays, I am taking only 25 mg because if I take 50 mg, pressure goes down a lot. To maintain that, these are all individual. You have to have now. When you are talking of piles, it used to be said, government servants retire with 3 P's: pension, provident fund, and piles. It is mainly because of the sedentary habit. Number one. Number two, no clear bowel movement. That increases the body heat. This can be overcome by lifestyle changes, by discipline in taking food and exercise. Of course, excellent medicines are there I've come across for piles this problem in homeopathy. And in Bombay, you have excellent homeopaths in Dr. Wadia and all. Even cases which were supposed to undergo surgical procedure were treated successfully by them. What others you said? Thyroid and then?
Piles and acid reflux.
Acid reflux, for instance, we were talking of what suits. I used to take coffee, very strong coffee. Not black coffee, but very strong coffee with very hardly any sugar in it. I found that was causing me acid reflux. You see, there is a valve at the end of the esophagus before the stomach that is supposed to open only downwards, not in the opposite direction. Acid reflux is caused when the valve opens upwards and then you feel it. See, the throat problem can be caused because of acid reflux. I gave up coffee. I stopped taking coffee from 2015. Occasionally, I do take even now. But I have given up coffee. If you want, I can suggest one thing. In Siddha, there is one combination of, this Triphala Churnam is the best. Triphala Churnam is available. In Madras, there is a research hospital in Chennai. TAMPCOL, TAMPCOL. TAMPCOL is a government-sponsored company which manufactures this. You get the best quality Triphala Churnam tablet, or perhaps you get it from Isha Foundation also. 2 tablets at the end of the day at bedtime. That will regulate your bowel movement also, and it gets rid of, because my wife got rid of acidity problem. In fact, Triphala Churnam helps us in so many ways. I continue to take 2 a day. It has arrested even the growth of cataract. Head to toe, Triphala Churnam works wonders. It, for gents, when you cross 50, 60, 60% of the people, they get prostate enlargement. Even that is arrested by Triphala Churnam. No need to go for TUR and all. I mean, I'm telling from personal experience, apart from yogasanas. Baddha Konasana is one asana, Baddha Konasana. That helps. In fact, if you start doing Surya Namaskar regularly, your eyeball also rotates fully. So the ocular muscles, the tone of the ocular muscles improves. Your number will come down. Yogasana is the best, not the gym, particularly after the age of 40. You join any, Ramakrishna Mission, so many institutions, they teach you yogasanas. Yoga practices are the best. I have been practicing, of course, from my pre-university days. I didn't require to wear specs till the age of 71. Even now, it is because of very slight growth of cataract I'm wearing, because otherwise I'm not able to read the footnotes in the Income Tax Act. For a normal printing, I don't require. Even for distant vision, I don't require. Yogasanas are the best, and that will discipline, because meditation, again, we were talking about mindful breathing and mindful eating. So you are able to concentrate. Keep your mind focused. That focused attention saves you from all problems. Next.
Mental stresses also causes many diseases in spite of good food, yoga and pranayama.
Mental stress you can overcome. Again, I am quoting Thirukkurrall. There is a chapter, 63rd chapter. First thing he says is, when you are facing adversity or a stressful instance, smile. When you smile, start smiling. I will give you 2-3 anecdotes from my personal life. In 1993, Harshad Mehta and Ashwin Mehta, they wrote a complaint against me. It came up in the newspaper. C.P. Ramaswamy was paid crores abroad by the bad cartel to engineer the raid on the big book. There were many friends within the department who were very happy. This fellow's goose is cooked. And when I carried that newspaper and entered the Director General's room in Aikarbaud, smilingly, he said, CP, you are smiling. I'm worried about this. I said, sir, if somebody has opened an account in my name somewhere outside the country and he has deposited money, why should I be afraid of that? Why should I get frightened? Only a fruit-bearing tree gets all the stones. See, another occasion in March 92, these incidents I vividly remember. Initially, Harshad Mehta was spreading rumors that search was a flop. Whereas we had shown printouts from the data we have downloaded to our Director General. He told me, and the DI was also there, Mr. SNL Agarwala. CP, this fellow is planting false stories. You counter it with, you leak some information. I smiled. I said, sir, according to Humphrey Appleby in Westminster, all ships leak from the bottom. The ship of state is the only ship which leaks from the top. I am not at the top. All of us laughed. He said, no, you are putting it on me. But my DI also said, sir, whatever it is, CPS said it, I agree with him. He also escaped from that situation because next he would be asked to leak some information. I told him, sir, I would not leak any information because tomorrow somebody leaks some information, I will be put to trouble. You direct me to put up a press note, I will put up, I'll release it once you approve that. Sense of humor is one important quality we should develop. There are two unique faculties nature has given only to human beings. One is the faculty of laughing. The second, the ability to lie down on our back. No other animal can lie down on its back. So we are as healthy as our backbone is, because that is the link between the brain and all over. We all think that memory is only in the brain. No, memory is there all over the body. If somebody had a fracture, say fracture of the arm, and he's put in plaster of Paris for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, when it is cut, by then the muscles have forgotten the movement. You have to teach. The memory has been lost temporarily. For all those who want to improve your memory, I will suggest, again, Brahmi powder is excellent. Brahmi in Hindi, in Tamil it is called Vallarai. It is available in tablet form or powder form. Sorry? Sorry? We are exceeding our time limit. Okay.
No, sir. No, sir. Please continue.
Vallarai in Tamil. Then for this throat also, I would suggest you please see Thooduvalai. Toothuvalai. You can Google and see. You will get the scientific name. That is also available in powder. In fact, I used to send it to one of my colleagues in Delhi for her mother. This Thooduvalai powder, taken half a teaspoonful, it gives you immunity. You can take it lifelong, nothing happens. It doesn't affect any of your other organs, and rather it improves. I take one herbal mixture in the morning instead of coffee. That is Thooduvalai, Karisalanganni, Musumusukai, and Jeera in diluted or boiling milk, 50 ml water and 50 ml milk. That only. And it really works wonders. It builds up your immunity, natural immunity. Yes? Anything else?
Any suggestion to vision improvement?
Yes, there is an excellent exercise. You see, if you can sit in Vajrasana, it is still better. You know Vajrasana. See, I'll show you, I'll give you a demo as if I'm sitting in Vajrasana. See, like this. First, like this, 5 times. That is, you are making a plus sign. Head is not turning, only the eyeballs are turning. This is second, 5 times. Then third is multiplication sign. Like this, 5 times, then this way. In the sitting posture, or if not Vajrasana, Sukhasana also is fine. Then minus from the tip of the nose to this 5 times. Then take clockwise and anti-clockwise 5 times. Then you palm the eyes. See, you have generated a lot of electromagnetic waves. With that, you just fomenting the eyes with your own heat. After this, see here at the center, 5 times clockwise and anti-clockwise. Then you will find a small depression in the middle of the eyebrow. Similarly here, 5 times. Then in the corner, again, 5 times. Then again in the middle below, you will find a very small depression, 5 times. Again, the inner corner. Again, you do this. Then you will find yourself fully rejuvenated. Your eyes will become bright. If your even 4, 5 number will come down. you may remove your specs. Yes, this exercise, in fact, when you do Surya Namaskar, the eyeball rotates fully. More than that is this particular exercise for the eyes. You'll find you don't require specs, or even if you are wearing specs, you may, in course of time, remove them, get rid of them. Anything else?
Sir, that's the end to the questions, I guess.
Thank you. We have taken more time. It is 7:12 now.
Thank you very much, sir. As we conclude this journey, let us carry forth the wisdom, allowing it to illuminate our paths and inspire noble actions in our daily lives. Thirukkurrall stands as a timeless testament to the enduring power of wisdom and the universality of human values. I request Sneha Daftari to please cast a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir, for your precious time. This session has been indeed a very knowledgeable session for all of us. We've got to know a lot of details from you in terms of breathing techniques to what kind of food to be had and how to have and what time to have. This has genuinely helped us, and hopefully it will help us in our life and have a very healthy living. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us some great tips on healthy living.
Most welcome.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much,
all.
sir.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you. It was a
sir.
real,
Thank you,
it
sir.
was,
Thank you. Thank
it
you.
was a real eye-opening session and a real thank you. So thank you, CP Ramaswamy sir. Thank you, Deepak sir, for getting this organized, and Vijay bhai for ensuring that we deliver this. So really thankful session to all of you, and we look forward for such sessions in future. So thank you.
Thank you, Ramaswami
welcome.
sir,
Thank you,
on
Deepak
behalf
bhai.
of the chamber. And thank you,
Thank-
Deepak bhai, for coordinating and arranging this eye-opener session through Ramaswami sir.
Oh, most welcome, Vijay bhai. God bless you all. Good night.
Thank you, sir.